Hello and thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is Politics Now. My name is Morno Balagbobo. We've got a great show for you today, so sit back and relax. Get your family members together to the couch and let's talk politics. This time around, we will be starting in Africa, South Africa to be precise. The election has just concluded and vote counts are ongoing. Let's give you a rundown of our talking points. We'll look at the IEC's conduct of polls. We'll look at the likelihood of a coalition government and concerns of key voters. Joining us later on via video call from South Africa is Professor Tumi Bibi Senokwane, who is an election observer. He is also a political analyst and a lecturer in the University of South Africa, Pretoria. Then, if we have enough time, we'll touch on the mega party formation ahead of the 2027 presidency. Here is a rundown of our talking points. We look at much ado about Peter Obi's meeting with Atiku Abubakar and APC's hold on Nigerian politics and the task of disrupting the current political order. Dr. Moses Paul, convener of the Free Nigeria Movement, will be speaking with us. He is a coach and author and social activist. We'll be right back in just a short bit. Stay with us. And to the first business of the day, millions of South Africans went to the polls on May 29 for national and provincial elections that could test the African National Congress ANC's 30-year rule. Now, partial results are expected over the course of this coming days, with final results likely to be unveiled on Sunday, according to the Electoral Commission of South Africa, IEC. President Ramaphosa earlier was confident the ANC will win. Let's take a listen to what he said just before the polls.
This is the day when South Africa decides on the future of our country, who should lead the government of South Africa. And I have no doubt whatsoever in my heart of hearts that the people will once again invest confidence in the African National Congress to continue to lead this country.
Well, according to latest figures that we have obtained from LN 24/7, we can actually say that the ANC party is not going to take up majority of the votes, which is 50%. Well, we will break down South Africa's electoral system in a short bit. But let's take a time to let you in on who are the key figures shaping this election, apart from the great people of South Africa, of course. Well, four of the biggest players to watch out for in this year's election are the ANC, the DA, and the MK, and of course the EFF. Well, let's start with the first person. That's, of course, the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who won in 2019 with 57.50% of the vote. And that's South Africa's current president and head of the African National Congress, ANC. Ramaphosa, 71, is looking to secure his second and final election win, but many have predicted his party might not be able to secure an outright majority and will be forced to form a coalition government. Well, the results we are tracking is making it look like that's what's going to happen. Well, our second key contender is John Steenhuisen. In 2019, he won 20.77% of the vote. He is 48. Leader of the official opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, and is situating his party as the party to rescue South Africa from the ANC. Well, in a surprise turn of events, at number 3 is Jacob Zuma, who in 2019, of course, he didn't contest the election because he had to resign, and he has formed a new party, the MK party. Now, although former President Zuma, 82, was barred from standing as a member of parliament, he is the face of the Umkhonto Weziwe party, which is expected to gain seats from the ANC. Well, another key contender is Julius Malema, who in 2019, he had 20.80% of the vote. He's 43 years of age. He's the founder of the Economic Freedom Party, EFF, an anti-establishment Marxist Pan-Africanist party. Now, let's get a sense of South Africa's electoral system. We've got some cards to help you make sense of how elections are in South Africa. Well, parties in current National Assembly, the lower house of Parliament, is currently represented by 400 members of 14 political parties, allocated proportionally based on the votes each party received in the 2019 elections. Now, the first political party, the African National Congress, ANC, has 230 seats, which is 57.5% of Parliament. And second is the Democratic Alliance Party, DA, who's got 84 seats, 21%. And then the third party, Economic Freedom Fighters Party, EFF, got 44 seats, makes up 11%. And then the Inkatha Freedom Party, IFP, 14 seats, 3.5%. And then 10 other parties, which make up the remaining of the 28 seats. Now, so South Africa actually follows a proportional voting system where parties and candidates compete for 400 seats in the parliament known as the National Assembly. Now, the SA's proportional voting system, you've got three modes of voting for the parliament. Now, the first one is the national ballot, which is called the blue ballot. The same ballot across the country, voters elect one of 52 political parties. Then the second one is the regional national assembly, the orange ballot, which is unique to each province. Voters elect either a political party or an independent candidate. Then the third is the provincial legislature, pink ballot, which is unique to each province. Voters elect political parties and independent candidates. Now, here are some key things to know about South Africa's electoral system. South Africans do not directly vote for a president like we have in Nigeria. The members of the National Assembly elect the president by a simple majority, 201 plus votes, to determine the presidency. So if the ANC secures the majority, President Cyril Ramaphosa, 71 years of age, is likely to be re-elected as president to serve in his second and final term. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If the ANC fails to win a 50% majority, it may have to form a coalition with other political parties, unless the ANC performs much worse than expected. There is a slim chance they could be completely removed from government. So these are the dynamics that we're going to be looking at. So with votes counting on the way and final results expected on Sunday, South Africa's national broadcaster ENCA says that projections by its election analysts show that the ANC will fall short of securing a majority and is likely to get about 45% of the national vote. Now, let's take a look at some of the results as seen earlier today. And of course, the projections from the analysts are actually coming to life. So we've got a slide for you to see. And from that slide, you can see the proportion of votes the ANC is leading. So the first slide that we have for you actually shows that above 60% of the votes have been counted. So from the breakdown that you can see from the next slide, the image you can see there is the ANC at the top lead, okay, at 41.88%. This was what we looked at earlier this morning. And let's go back to the first slide again. Okay, so you can see from the other slide, can our producers move to the first slide? You should. Thank you so much. So you can see the Democratic Alliance Party with 23.22% of the votes. And then the MK Party. Who would have thought that the MK Party will beat out the EFF Party? I mean, that's the party that Jacob Zuma is pushing. And they are currently, positioning themselves as the third contender in this election. And of course, you can see the other party breakdown. So that's just the geography of the election. So from what we have now, over 60%. That figure was from early this morning. But of course, what we have currently right now is above 60%. So it's quite interesting about what's going on in South Africa. Well, unlike Nigeria, where opposition parties are not actually elated about the turnout of election results, it's not the case in South Africa, as you can see from the two political parties that are trailing behind the ANC political party. So what are the key issues on the mind of voters in South Africa? This is what we know, and we'll just let some of the cards play out for you. Now, key issues that are on the top of the mind of majority of voters. Number one, jobs. South Africa has the highest unemployment rate in the world. General unemployment rates rose slightly from last year from 31% to 33% during the first quarter of 2024. Second is education and unemployment. Lingering inequalities. Black majority communities still have largely underfunded public schools with inadequate amenities, libraries, and laboratories. Then third is crime. Rising and worsening levels of poverty, unemployment, and inequality have led to increased violent crime in South Africa, worsened by the rise of organized criminal groups. And at number four is housing challenge. Although approximately 8 in 10 South Africans, 83.2%, live in formal homes, at least 2.2 million people still live in informal dwellings, including shacks built out of corrugated iron sheets or other scrap material. Now, number five is basic services. Unequal access is still a major challenge. More than 80% of South African homes have access to pipe water, but cuts are regular in some parts, and that's a problem, like places like Limpopo and Upalanga provinces. Well, joining us to make sense of South Africa's crucial elections is our guest, Professor Tumi Bibi Senokwane, who is an election observer, political analyst, and a lecturer at the South African University in Pretoria. Thank you so much, Prof, for being with us on the show.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Oh, good to have you. Well, I can see you smiling. Most likely you are feeling the outcome of the elections. Now, more than 27 million voters are registered in your country. And of course, you've got the IEC, who has said the voter turnout will go well beyond the 66% that was recorded in the last election since 2019. 70 parties competed for votes, and a coalition government looks, almost like a possibility for the first time since the end of apartheid. And okay, let's just take a listen to what the IEC rep said at the Collation Center.
It's difficult to call until you complete the counting process. Suffice to say, it will probably be well beyond what we had, the 66% we had in 2019.
So in summary, no major irregularities or issues have so far been raised regarding the vote, although voters at some polling stations reported delays, power outages, and problems with voter roll machines, according to the CEO of the Electoral Commission of South Africa. Well, Prof, we're coming back to you. Thank you for staying with us. Can you tell us what the atmosphere is like in South Africa, the conduct of the polls by the IEC, and how South Africans are responding to the results that are pouring in?
Okay, there's been a lot of excitement from the voters and the citizens of South Africa because of obvious reasons. There's been several challenges facing the country, stemming from load shedding, water shedding, the issues of no free education, and so on and so forth. So those have been some of the issues that motivated majority of people to want to participate in these elections. Queues were very long at voting stations. In fact, voting stations were closed very late after 9 o'clock, which was the deadline, because people were sitting on queues for longer hours and wanted to participate in this democratic process. But we are aware now that the votes have been happening, and there's been a surprise and a shock Of course, some of us have seen that and argued that ANC will not reach 50%. And we have witnessed that now it is struggling to reach 50%. MK party, Mkondo Isizwe party, which is led by the former president of ANC, Jacob Zuma, has now become number 4 in the voting list, has been number 3, in fact, replacing the EFF. And it is also number 1 in KZN, leading the ANC and leading IFP, leading EFF. So things are happening. There's been a lot of changes in the Western Cape. Patriotic Alliance also, we've seen it has improved. It is challenging the DA there. Northern Cape, ANC has set in the province on 49%. So a lot of things are happening, and 3 provinces will be hanging, and there will be coalitions across 3 provinces, including national outcomes.
All right, from the results that have come in so far, the ANC is not going to have up to 50% of the vote, which would mean coalition government. How will this affect governance in South Africa, given the parties have different ideologies? Perhaps you can shed more light.
What we've learned is that ideology doesn't play a big role when it comes to coalition. It is based on what each party stand to gain. And I will maybe support that argument by saying that in the municipalities, we've been having coalition arrangements between different political parties. And ideology has not played a critical component in most of them. So, of course, other political parties, you will see through their signature that this one is now part of this particular arrangement. But when actual coalition arrangements are done, nothing of ideology plays a critical component. So it will be dependent on what one gets out of bargaining table, and they will, of course, move in that direction. Because, for example, in the past, Tshwane EFF will go into coalition with DA, which is something unthinkable if you think of their extreme gap between the 2 political parties ideologically. ANC have done the same. So you will get then a coalition agreement between IFP and other political parties that normally and naturally will not want to be associated with the type of the ideology that the other has. But it has been happening. So that's why I'm saying that that support my statement and argument that ideology does not really play that critical and fundamental place in the arrangements of coalition.
Now, opinion polls suggest the governing ANC, which is hovering at about 40%, will likely lose its majority. And of course, if this happens, the ANC will need to make a deal with other parties to form a coalition government. The choice of coalition partnership will depend on the support needed to cross the 50% mark. Nevertheless, unless the ANC performs much worse than expected, there will be a slim chance it could be completely removed from power. So back to you, Prof. The ANCs are associated with the Mandela movement, and I mean, they've won every election since 1993. Why do you think this political party is losing touch with voters?
You'll remember there's a statement by Mandela. He once said that if the ANC will do to you what the apartheid government did to you, do what you did to the apartheid government. So it is not a surprise. There's been lots of warning from even people such as the former president Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema Motlanthe, warning the ANC that if it doesn't cleanse itself, it shall face the wrath of the voters, of the citizens. And this has happened. Of course, Nelson Mandela is a political figure that is respected by most South Africans for his contribution. And of course, as a leader of the ANC. But like most liberation movement, the ANC lost plot in making sure that they, do service delivery to the citizens of South Africa. ANC failed to honor their commitment of providing land and shelter to its voters and citizens. ANC failed to deliver free education as promised by their last president before Cyril Ramaphosa. So there's been a lot of things happening that the ANC failed to honor in these 30 years. And people feel that they need something different that will be able to execute their mandate.
Okay, Prof, let us talk about some of the key concerns that we highlighted at the beginning of the show. Economy, unemployment. Unemployment will majorly affect young voters. They make up the bulk of the unemployed people in South Africa. What party are they identifying with, and how are the issues, shaping the outcome of this election?
The reason, or some of the reasons that made the MK party led by the former president of the ANC of the country, Jacob Zuma, to be voted by majority of all by a particular percentage. It's because they know what he did when he was president of the country. If you compare the unemployment rate now and the time when Jacob Zuma was the president, you check how we performed economically as the country during his time, you will realize that we're doing better than now. And it is for that reason that people voted for him. And of course, the EFF, as much as it has been affected by the formation of the MK itself, the reality is that people like the language of the EFF, and as far as for example, the insourcing of the workers that are currently outsourced, or their contribution in the previous time when they participated in municipalities and universities together with trade unions to insource the outsourced workers. So the citizens know that the EFF has got they have a good heart in place in as far as wanting to give permanent jobs and better permanent jobs to the workers and better remuneration to the workers. So that's why they will want to at least support the EFF. The DA, what they've done in the Western Cape, that's why people will want to support it, because it has proven in certain areas of the Western Cape that it can do service delivery. The Patriotic Alliance, led by Gayton McKenzie, has been doing well in smaller municipalities where they have been elected, and their language is who are in as far as wanting to improve service delivery. So those are some of the things that have been attracting the workers. But the biggest fear for the workers, the voters and the citizens of South Africa was the problem of load shedding and water shedding. And it is for that reason that they are not comfortable with the ANC.
Professor Senokwane, from the outcome so far, any likelihood opposition parties will have reasons to want to challenge results in court? This is something that we are used to in Nigeria. Definitely, with the way the dynamics is changing in South Africa's politics. I mean, what is the situation going to look like in South Africa post-election election results announcements on Sunday?
I don't see that happening. Of course, it's still early to tell, because the last time I checked, we're sitting at 7 million out of the 16 million those who voted. So, but so far, political parties are confident. They are not really panicking. I think they are even to a certain part satisfied with the process. Of course, there's been a lot of challenges of, scanning machines at the IEC, voting places not working, late coming of IEC officials, lack of observers in other spaces, and so on and so forth. But that has not irritated people to a point that now they might want to go to court and challenge the outcome of the elections. Unless if something drastic happens between today and tomorrow evening. But from where we are sitting, I don't see that happening. I think people will accept the outcome of the elections. We, of course, will encourage that we improve where IAC has lacked or there were errors, so that in future the same mistakes shouldn't repeat themselves. But I do not see anyone rush into court. And like I said, unless something extreme happens between today and tomorrow.
Now, Prof, who do you see the ANC align with? Because it is looking like it. I mean, from what we saw, I think about 52%, 42% or so, 40-something percent. Let me be very, very exact. Now, who do you see the ANC party aligning with to form a coalition government? Reports have it that they may likely ally with the left parties like the MK party, but you and I know that Jacob Zuma and Ramaphosa don't see eye to eye. And this is something that we have seen played out over the course of the years. I mean, there's going to be a lot to offer the MK party if they decide to roll with them.
There's only one political party that stood to get 50 plus, and it was the ANC. If for some miracle voters decided otherwise, it was only the ANC that would receive about 50%. But we argued a long time ago that there's no way that it would reach that. But in the absence that the ANC couldn't reach that, there was no any other political party that could reach that. In fact, we assume that the highest number by any other political party after the ANC would have been 20% or less than 20%. That was our argument. So there was no way that we could expect any other political party or even themselves as political parties expect to reach 50 plus 1. That's the first one. But in as far as the issue of coalition is concerned and the arrangement, there are a couple of scenarios. First, ANC might want to decide to go into coalition with the MK party, the one that is led by its former president, Jacob Zuma. But it will come with tough conditions, because the beauty about having that coalition, it will also give ANC the opportunity to be in coalition and govern together with MK at KwaZulu-Natal. Then they will be able to share the spoils. But should the ANC decide to go, but you know, because of what has happened in MK and Zuma might even come with high demands, such as the removal of Cyril Ramaphosa as a contender as the president of the country, therefore leaving room for a new presidency, maybe the likes of Paul Mashatile as the deputy president being the president, therefore MK proposing to be a deputy president, then sharing also at KZN. But if ANC on the other scenario should decide to go with DA, they might have to share also at, for example, Northern Cape, where ANC is sitting at 49%, to share also the governing together there, and also with DA, but maybe if DA doesn't meet 50% in the Western Cape, also join with the ANC. But it will also come with certain conditions that DA will demand certain minister positions and so on and so forth. So those are the dynamics. So or ANC might decide to go with all the three left parties, such as, of course, MK included and EFF, and see that they co-govern together. And this will assist the ANC in reaching two-thirds majority together with the MK and with the EFF, and they will be able to, for example, should the EFF continue demanding the amendment of Section 25 of Land Act that deals with the issues of land and so on, expropriation of land without compensation, they will need that two-thirds majority. MK has argued for the changing of the constitution so that they amend the judiciary, include the customary laws in how we run our country. They will need the ANC and the EFF to do that. So if we have to look beyond the immediate and look into the issues of the constitution, all the three will need one another to form a coalition.
Okay, Professor Senokwane, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we could have so much time to talk about this, but hopefully on Monday we will be able to get you on the show to discuss the aftermath of the election result announcement. Thank you so much for being with us, Professor Senokwane.
Thank you very much, my friend.
A pleasure is mine. Okay, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back on Politics Now, we'll go straight to mega party formation ahead of the 2027 presidency. So stick around with us. Glad to know you're still on to LN 24/7. Well away from South Africa election, let's talk about Nigeria. Conversations over the past few weeks has been focusing on the 2027 presidency because of the dynamics and the play game of politicians. Well, here is a rundown of our talking points. We're looking at more to do about Peter Obi's meeting recall with Atiku Abubakar. Someone in Obi's camp will be talking to us tonight. And APC's hold on Nigerian politics. It's 1 year of President Tinubu's presidency. How far and how will the other political parties shape the conversation of trying to get a hold on the political dynamics in the nation? Then the task of disrupting the current political order. Well, Dr. Moses Paul, convener Free Nigeria Movement, will be speaking to us after we break it all down for you. Now, do recall that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar at various times has made calls on the need for opposition to unite. According to him, it remains the only way to rid the nation of the current hardship imposed by the President Ahmed Tinubu-led All Progressive Congress administration. But is this call being heed to? Because Atiku announced Obi's visit on X some time back, informing his followers that the former LP standard bearer paid him a visit. The details of their meetings are yet to be made public. But we learned, apart from Peter Obi's prominent leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP also visited Atiku, including the former Senate President Bukola Saraki and former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido. And this visit and meetings has raised questions about future plans of Nigeria's main opposition parties ahead of the 2027 general elections. Meanwhile, speculations in the media gathered at discussions about the need for the opposition to form a common front ahead of the 2027 election featured prominently in a meeting. However, Obi's media aide, Dr. Unisa, said in a statement that the state of the nation and plight of the poor people in the nation was the focus of the conversation. Well, recently in an interview, Atiku Abubakar has said that if in 2027 the party decides that a Southeast will take turn to lead the party in the election, that he will prefer offer Peter Obi his support. He also added that a merger between the PDP and the Labour Party is possible. Now, move away Atiku and Obi in furtherance of plans to merge a mega party. The chairman of some opposition party leaders have, took time to meet sometimes ago and to talk about the concept of forming a political party. And even recently, Atiku Abubakar has stated that he will contest the 2027 elections. But what will be the standard, the principles, if they want to form a political party? How will it work given the current position of the PDP? Well, we will find out how it will go. So, join us on the show to talk about this topic is our guest, Dr. Moses Paul, the convener of Free Nigeria Movement. Thank you so much, Dr. Moses, for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, good to have you with us. Can you help us make clarifications first about the meetings that your leader, Peter Obi, had with Atiku Abubakar?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. And I want to assume that you're talking about talks about the 2027, if
Yes.
I get you correctly, elections. Let me just make it very direct and precise, because sometimes the media has a way of twerking messages from people and giving insinuations or colorations to what they truly are. Mr. Peter Obi, even before he became the governor of Anambra State, this is over 10 years ago, has been involved with a lot of philanthropic work, especially that has to do with schools and empowerment of livelihood. Particularly, there are things that are very particular to him, nursing schools, hospitals, visitations, and in that regard. And even while as governor, record has it for all of the things he has done. And I'm saying all of this to give a backdrop of the fact that the things that he has done, I was a part of the entourage, to the several states in the north where he dug boreholes, empowered the people, and also during the Ramadan season, broke fast with different sections of the Muslim faithfuls in Nigeria in different states. All of those gestures are all part of what he does as an individual. This has nothing to do with politics. He has nothing to do with campaign. He's just carrying out a duty as an individual, to reach out like he has always done. I think because he ran for the 2023 general election and because of the massive popularity and following that he has now acquired, globally, has now made it look as if it is something that he's doing for campaign. This has nothing to do with campaign. Even his recent visit to the person he refers to as his elder brother, I mean, it's a normal meeting that they've been having. And these are just part of courtesy visit. And you're going to see more of that. It is because he has become a big elder state person, if I may say, or because of what happened during the 2023 general election. Every touchlight and searchlight is now on him. But these are just private individual visits and gestures to show, to participate in the governance structure. As always, the visit he had just a few hours ago with those who were burnt in Kano, the senseless killing that took place in the mosque. And even during the killings in Plateau, he was there. He visited with Kaduna State a few weeks ago, where he donated 10 million naira each to 3 different, institutions of nursing home in St. Girard, the Foreman Hospital, and also to the Al-Majri Islamia School. These are just gestures that are normal with him, and he has been going around in and out of the country for what he calls a thank you tour, to just show appreciation for people who have followed him and have been listening to him. So that's just in a nutshell what he's been involved with. This has nothing to do with politics. This is just his individual gestures and consultations and visitations privately that he's having with, people in the country to just help keep things going.
Now, from what we saw in the 2023 elections, do you think it will take a coalition to unseat the APC? Because when you look at the PDP, we'll come to your party, I mean, it's like the walls are all tumbling down.
Definitely, if you look at the way our evolution in our politics has taken place in Nigeria, before the 2015, I beg your pardon, general election, there was a coalition between about 15 political groups, principally by the AC and the CPC, that, galvanized into what we have today as the ruling APC. That was what threw in former President Muhammadu Buhari into power. During the elections and after elections, there are permutations and all kinds of, engagements that will always happen. Whether there's a mega party or not, there will be a cross-carpeting and mergers of all kinds of formation, especially because for the first time, there are now new interest group, especially from the 2023 general elections. Nigeria's election is becoming more interesting because more people are now beginning to get involved in politics that were Otherwise we'll just stay on the sidelines. So you would expect, of course, and you can see with the movement of Mr. Peter Obi to the Labour Party, which was a party in comatose, for lack of a better word, before the 2023 general election, and with the surge and with the rush, giving life to it, of course, you can see that even the dynamics of the party has completely changed. However, Mr. Peter Obi, particularly, he has been very focused. He's not about the mergers and the political parties, I can tell you that. The other day, he was in Harvard. The next day, he was in Cambridge. The other day, he was in Canada, giving lectures, teaching people, talking to the diasporans, coming back home, visiting with different universities, teaching and lecturing and engaging with people, just to ensure, like he said, I'm not desperate to be your president, but I am desperate to see that Nigeria gets working. He is doing so much. If I were this administration, I will embrace him and thank him and be grateful for somebody like him, because he's helping to ensure that Nigeria gets its feet back, socially, culturally, politically, and in other ways. But directly to your question, there should be mergers. I will encourage mergers to come up, especially to be able to face, the incumbent regime. So, I mean, if that happens, that will be beautiful. But whether or not, we, and I refer to particularly my principal, he is very focused in ensuring that Nigeria works. He's looking to ensure that the insecurity is abated. He's ensuring that children get back to school. He wants to see people working, electricity, to ensure that we have a living standard of life in Nigeria upgraded, to ensure that the animosity and the anger that exists, in different quarters are abated, because without peace, we really can have any meaningful progress. And these are basically his focus, and that's what he's tending to.
Now, Dr. Moses, more to do about Peter Obi's meeting with Atiku. And, he's saying that he will support Peter Obi if the presidency is zoned to the east, to the southeast, rather. What's your take on this?
I wouldn't know what is in his mind, but you can see, like I said again, from his gestures, you can see what is in his mind. He wants to see a working Nigeria. How be it? The comment by Waziri Adamawa, the PDP candidate for the 2023 general election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he said that should the party zone the presidency to the southeast, that is going to, of course, support Mr. Peter Obi. That's a welcome idea. However, one would have thought that whether or not the party zones the presidency, it is expected. I mean, we have an unwritten agreement in Nigeria after 8 years of a northern Muslim leader, President Muhammadu Buhari. Ideally, like we have done it in Nigeria, the presidency will remain in the south, and I would expect that whether it is zoned or not, that he should give his support to Mr. Peter Obi. Whether or not Mr. Peter Obi is going to go back to the PDP or whatever political party merger that will come up, timing is everything in politics. As things evolve and things unravel, we're going to see and we're going to know more. Decisions will be made.
Is there a possibility that Peter Obi goes back to the PDP? Because some people are making those speculations. Could you clarify that for us?
Definitely, that's not what I'm assuming. But if there is a coalition, if there should be a coalition, I mean, he was formerly in the PDP before he left for the Labour Party. And before that, he was in ABGA, because essentially political parties are just vehicles, in Nigeria's parlance. We're still evolving because political parties are not founded, and I say this very loosely, on shared principles of ideology like we have them in America or in the UK and another part of the world, where people would remain in a particular political party because of the ideology that it holds or it is founded by. Here, what we have are just vehicles of convenience. I don't know, I wouldn't know, but one thing that I do know is that as the issues evolve, we will get to know clearer whether or not he's going to form any alliance and jump into any ship with the PDP.
Now, there's been many people who are so quick to attack the Labour Party. Now, most recently, David Boala made a comment on Peter Obi being president in 2039, saying Tinubu should remain in power for 2 terms. What's your reaction as a member of the Labour Party?
He's entitled to his opinion. People speak every day about different things and different permutations. Nobody knows who is going to be president of Nigeria in 2027. Nobody even knows who is going to be alive to even contest for the presidency. And so sometimes when people make some of those statements, arrogating certain powers to themselves, what we can do is just to walk away from those kinds of statements. They are not statements that one is supposed to take seriously at all, because nobody is the supreme leader here, so we don't know. But as we go, we can see whatever God wants, for Nigeria, whatever the people decide. If the people decide today that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should go, if 1 million Nigerians, if people come out on the street and say and demand for him to go, he's going to go. The people is about the people power. Whether or not he's expected to stay for 1 term or 2 terms. Nobody can say that. The Nigerian people will decide. And of course, God has the ultimate say. I don't know, you don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. Nobody knows. So to make such assertion is rather from a place of ignorant, deep naivety, and I would say a sense of arrogation of arrogance. And we should leave it at what it is.
Now, Dr. Moses, it would not be fair for me to get your thoughts on Tinubu's 1 year in office. I mean, it's been the roller coaster from one policy decision to another, and it has had quite an impact on the average Nigerian in the country. What are your thoughts?
When you look at the evolution of leadership or politics globally and nationally, even in Africa and in Nigeria, you can see that impact and implementation of policies, when we talk of leaders in America like J.F. Kennedy, when you look at people like late Thomas Sankara, or you look at people in Nigeria here, you look at Murtala Muhammad, these are people that did great things. I mean, they were there for some of them for just about 6 months. So it is not true that you need 1 year, or you need 4 years, or you need 100 years to make an impact or to implement policies. I mean, from day one of this administration, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in, he came out and said, subsidy is removed, and threw the nation into chaotic, what I don't have a word for. And since then, we're buying petroleum for less than 200 naira. Today, you know how much we are buying it. Bags of rice, bag of gari, everything has gone skyrocketed. The dollar moved from 300 to over 1,000. It hasn't returned. Nobody knows whether it's going to return. Just by pronouncement by the president. That's how powerful the Nigerian presidency is. And it didn't take 4 years. It didn't take 1 year. 1 year. It didn't take 1 month. It took 1 day for that pronouncement to be made, and things changed. And so 1 year down the line, you can see where we are. Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are dying. Nigerians are becoming suicidal. The terrorism level is increasing. People are being kidnapped. As we're talking right now, there are people in the bush in Nigeria, sadly. This is the status quo of Nigeria. The economic situation has plummeted, worse than ever. Now we are buying darkness for 300%. We're speaking right now is solar that is working in my house. I can't remember when last I used electricity from the grid. This is where we are right now, as a matter of fact. And why do we measure the ratings of leaders? Why do we have the global equation of 100 days in office? It is because you can tell what a government, what a regime is going to do, even in 1 day, even in 1 week. So that's why you have that measurement of 100 days in office. You can tell exactly what the government is going to do. And after 1 year, this is our report card looking at us: hunger, poverty, lack of employment, insecurity. This is our report card after 1 year. We are dipping from where we used to be. No, and people shouldn't get it twisted. We all want Nigeria to work. I want President Tinubu to succeed because his success is Nigeria's success. It's not an individual success. But this is the result before us right now, after 1 year. Will it be any different? I don't know. But looking at the indicators and the indices, I can tell you one thing very clearly. It is not about the dollar moving from 300 to 1,005 or to 1,009 or to 2,000 like it did a few weeks ago. It is the fact that you cannot plan if there is no stability. With the taxes on people from different, from bank alerts to all, everything that you can think about, taxes on energy, taxes on everything. It makes it influences the inflation rate and does not allow for stability in our macro and micro economics. And because of that, you can have stability in our naira. And the danger is that no family can plan without stability. No community can plan. No nation can plan. No investors are going to come from outside into Nigeria because the naira is not stable. If the naira is even stable at 1,000 or 2,000, for a whole year or for 6 months or for 2 years, then you can plan. But where there is instability, nothing is going to work. So I can tell you, nothing is going to work because today you wake up, the naira is different. Tomorrow you wake up, even within 1 day, the naira value changes. There is a deep recession of instability in the country, and on that, there is no planning that can happen. That is why the likes of Microsoft and other big corporations are living the country, because there is no stability. This is the danger of where we are today in our economics, and this is all brought to us by this particular regime. This is the report card after 1 year.
Now, still on the administration's 1 year anniversary, do you think that the administration is listening to the voice of the opposition and more so the people? You look at the new national anthem that has come under a lot of controversy. Is this government listening to the people?
I want to believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a president, would want to listen, and will also want to adjust as much as possible, because you can see with the cybersecurity levy, he came out as a person and stood it down, and there are quite a number of things that he has also stood down, suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian, I believe, and a few other things. But largely, you have a lot of noisemakers, if I would say, for lack of a better word, in this administration, who are head-hearted, who's always shouting and sending insults, forgetting that nation building is an inclusive to the wings. However, I want to believe that the president himself is somebody who would rather want to listen, and do the right thing from some of the actions that we have seen, stepping down some of the things. I mean, just like the cybersecurity levy. What's it called? The minister to step aside. Those were some of the actions that were taken by the president that showed that he would listen to opposition.
Now, Dr. Moses, how likely is a possible shift from the current landscape that is being dominated by the APC in the midst of defections, even from your party and the PDP? They are just moving in swarms to the APC. How is your party and other opposition parties going to take on the APC?
There have also been a lot of shift from the All Progressive Congress into the Labour Party in mass in different states. And I can give you the statistics because I've been a part of it. I've received some too myself. That being said, like I said during the introduction of this program, that Nigeria has no ideological parties. All the parties are just vehicles, so people move just based on selfish interests and what is convenient for them. That's what essentially happens, in Nigeria. However, I believe with the advent of the movement, the obedient movement, you can see a core ideological people who are confronting what I call the old order, away from
partisanship, away from the tools of religion and ethnicity that have been used to galvanize people in the past. This group of people essentially just want to see a working Nigeria. They are just particular about compassion, character. They just want to see a consistency in policies, in progressive, gravitations that will allow for people to be able to work. And that being said, as regards to how the winning process is going to happen against the All Progressive Party in 2027, I think it's going to be one of the easiest elections that Nigeria is going to have. As I've always predicted rightly, given the status quo of things. You can see the price of things in the market today, from everything from transportation to electricity to food. They have more than doubled. As a matter of fact, they have increased quantumly. Electricity tariff was increased by 300%. The value of the dollar rose from 300, about 400 to 1,009. Now it's back to about 1,005. You do the math to see. The price of a bag of gari today in the market as compared to when this regime came in. You can see the price of rice. The prices of beans, of everyday commodities. We were buying fuel for less than 200 naira. Today, there are places where fuel is being sold for 1,000 naira, and even that is not even available. So tell me, you can see what is going on in the north. Just a few hours ago, an old man walked into the mosque. For whatever reason, Nigerians are becoming barbaric. The level of patience is decreasing by the day, heightened by the insecurity, hunger, poverty, and lack of order and the lawlessness in the land. I think it's going to be one of the most easiest elections to win in Nigeria's history, because the Nigerian people will come out and speak, and that's what it's going to be. It's just left for the structures and the people to do what they need to do. And I can tell you very clearly that the galvanization for 2027 is beyond the parochialism, the rhetorics of religion, region, and the tribe that have been pervaded and used as the instrumentalization to weaponize poverty and to win power. All of those dynamics are changing, and they're changing very rapidly, because this particular regime and administration has made it quite easy for Nigerians to be able to see and divide between the lines.
Once again, thank you, Dr. Moses, for being with us on Politics Now.
Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. All right, I want to thank you for watching Politics Now tonight. I do hope you visit our website, www.ln247.news, for news updates and program highlights. You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms, LN247, from Facebook, Twitter to YouTube. You will find us there. Once again, many thanks for watching. God bless Nigeria and God bless Africa.